is a Bulldog Radio podcast.
The Ferris State Bulldogs have upset the nation's number 2 ranked team. Wide open! Taylor is going to take this one to the house! Touchdown Bulldogs!
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to the most valuable sports podcast. Brandon Worth, Joe Nagy bringing you the best Ferris State sports podcast coverage out there. I can
pretty
say
much
that,
the
Joe.
only. Yeah,
We can say that.
We can say that because it's the only Ferris State sports podcast. Really,
You know why it's the only?
nobody wants
no.
to try to beat us though. Because we're just that
Exactly.
good. We're just that good.
We are thinking on the same wavelength already, and it's January 9th, brother. We're going to be off to a
2023 is
great
going to be
start.
our year. It's great time in Ferris State University. Second semester is starting today. It is Monday. We got class later today, but we're going to give you guys a great show, and we got a great interview too, Brandon. Who's coming on the show?
Absolutely. We got two of the Ferris men's basketball stars joining us on the show, Amari Lee, as well as Jimmy Scholler. We'll be stepping in the chair in just a moment as we talk about the season starts so far and their journeys to Ferris, but we've got a loaded Ferris State sports
We
report.
got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, GLI has concluded. We finally will be able to recap that and what craziness happened down at Van Andel, especially with Huge for the Program segment from Joe Nagy
that's going to be a
himself.
permanent thing from now on.
Yes.
That's what I like to see, as well as everything else going on in Ferris State. We got men's basketball, women's basketball, hockey to talk about, and it's everything else is going on in athletics in the world too, Brandon. So without further ado,
Let's swing it to the interview. Now joining us in studio, the Ferris State floor generals of men basketball, Jimmy Scholler, Amari Lee. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on, fellas. First question for you. Saturday's game against Lake State went down to the wire. Didn't end how you wanted it to, but can you guys talk a little bit just about how that game went, and especially, what's Bronco like with close games like that?
Close games, he gets really fired up all the time. So he wanted us to win. We all wanted to win. It was a tough game. There's a lot of fouls both ways. It felt like kind of a slow game because we keep it fast paced and there was just so many fouls, but he was excited. We were all excited. And unfortunately, as you said, it didn't come down the way we wanted it to. So,
Yeah, it was a tough game. Coming in it's my first year here. GLIAC's pretty tough. It's pretty balanced and even conference, so any game can go any way. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way we wanted to, and of course, we have a lot of people missing with injuries and all that, so we played with what we have, but it was a tough game. Still optimistic about the season, about the future, so.
Yeah, for sure. And I noticed, especially being there, it was a different kind of atmosphere than we had seen at Wink in a long time. Just talk about from your guys' perspective. Obviously, me and Joe as the fans and staff, we get one perspective of the fans, but you guys are the ones playing, and you guys are the ones that are on the floor. You're hearing all of the cheers, and all of that momentum can be crucial in a game. How important is it to have all that fan base and just a rocking arena for you guys to play better?
Oh, huge. As we always say, you get so excited to play Grand Valley because, everybody in the community is going to come out. And that's kind of what Lake State's turning into. We've had a lot of battles, especially my 3 years here. We've split with them every year. So it's it's turning into more and more of a rivalry. And our coaches always talk about Grand Valley's a rival, but Lake State's right there because, we're going to have battles with them. And they've been so good in the GLIAC for the past 15 years. So it's always a good atmosphere, and it helped a lot having a big crowd, and then we'll get them back next time. Unfortunately, this time wasn't the one, but next time we'll get them.
And I personally, I love the big crowds. I love the energy. I love the noise. It was down to the wire, about 2 minutes left. I'm, waving my hands, trying to get the crowd involved. Everybody's yelling, screaming. Those type of games I love, It's love to see that we have hundreds and hundreds of people supporting us throughout every game, and having the crowd like that, it just motivates us to win more, so.
Yeah, and one thing you said too, Jimmy, with Lake State, all those Upper Peninsula teams seem to travel really well down here. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but has there been a difference when it feels when you go up there, as far as are they just as packed when they bring all these people down here as they are in their home gyms?
It kind of depends. We have, because Reese is from Maple City, Glen Lake, and then Xander, number 24 on Lake State's from Glen Lake, and there's a girl on Lake State from the same high school. So, they always come to Wink with a big crowd because, they're all pretty close. Reese lived in Traverse City, so it's not too far, but pretty similar. Tech is probably the best of the crowds of the three. Lake State has a decent bit of students who go, but Tech's probably the main one that gets the biggest crowd, and they travel pretty well to Wink as well.
Yeah, that connection does make sense now. That makes sense.
Yeah, and there's so many different personalities on the team. What's that like kind of for you guys, bus ride, pregame, during the game? Can you just talk about what that's like, just finding the perfect mesh for you guys, especially just getting ready for those type of situations?
Yeah, we have a pretty, as you said, different personalities on the team. There's a lot of people who are pretty goofy and pretty serious. It's been a nice balance this year. And everyone's coming back next year. So it's been kind of nice where it's like, oh, it's not like my last year, like we're all going to be together next year. So it's kind of like finding that groove, who you're good buddies with and whatnot. So it's been nice having we have Dang, who's always a pretty serious guy. And then there's guys like Amari, Ethan, who are pretty goofy all the time. So it's nice knowing those guys as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm top goofy on the team.
Which is totally okay.
Be who you are. I'm always laughing. I'm always have high energy, and I try to bring that every day to game day to practice. Sometimes dang, he's serious. I mess with him. I mess with Jimmy. I mess with everybody on the team. Make sure the spirits are high. That's who I am. I don't plan on stopping. Y'all might get it out of me in this podcast in a few as I get, more comfortable.
Yeah, more comfortable for sure.
Yeah, that's who I am. I'm just highly energetic, and I don't ever plan on changing.
Yeah.
What's pregame like in the locker room then? Is it more of somebody's plugging in a speaker and you guys are jamming, getting ready together? Or is it
Yeah, it's more of a group speaker, Occasionally some people wear headphones out to shoot and then maybe wear them a little bit in, but most of the time it's everybody's speaker just kind of talking.
What's the playlist looking like for
new Uzi? I just want to rock. Every game I start dancing in the locker, I'm going crazy, We always put hype music.
For sure.
I'll turn up as a group. It's kind of build that chemistry early. All right, let's jam out together. Let's get hype together. Let's go out and win together. It's a pregame routine that we have. And I'm the first one. I'm hype. I just want to I love that song. Love it.
Absolutely.
Duly noted. That's going into the pregame playlist. Done.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brandon's charging us.
Yeah, I'll make sure that gets in there. But as we alluded to in the intro, you guys, obviously the floor generals, primary point guards handling the ball for this team. And I mean, big pride in that, especially with the statistically, the team 7th overall in assistant turnover ratio. I know, Amari, you're individually 2nd overall in the nation in that category. And Jimmy, you're also in the top 40. When it comes to controlling the ball and really being able to get your offense good opportunities without turning it over, that just makes your team so much more lethal, especially in these closer games. Can you just talk about how much you guys feel your impact with those numbers and how you guys control the tempo of the game and set things up really impacts the offensive game overall?
I feel first of all, it's a testament of how good our team is. In assists, this is not a one-man job. I have to, with a pass and a completion of the play. So, me and Jimmy, we're passing to people. They're completing plays all the time. It just shows from 1 to 15 how good we are as a team. We have a lot of people that can score the ball at a high volume, as shown in the box score, and they're just making our job a lot easy. We take pride in that every day. Me and Jimmy, we're battling, trying to see what's the best assist turnover ratio. Take care of the ball. It's just the way we practice, the way we play. We just, put an emphasis on that, take care of the ball, and get everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what he said, and it's always after the game, we put our assists together and our turnovers and then see what we went. When Amari had 14 assists, it helped our ratio pretty good. So that was nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, a little bit of competition there.
Is there a friendly wager going into the, I know you guys probably track that stuff, but is there hey, one person gets more other, maybe you get speaker choice? Is there something necessarily that goes into that, a friendly competition?
Not really. Normally, it's just the first thing Coach Lesko, one of our new assistants, does is he comes up and he'll just tell us, all right, you guys had 19 and 2 tonight. Good job. So it's kind of
keep it up.
It's kind of like a team effort, we kind of just push our stats together and see what we can put together.
Every time Jimmy carries, he gets a big hug from me. Big hug,
That's great.
And a team is so versatile, so many guys can play in so many different spaces. I mean, we saw it last week on Saturday. I mean, you kind of had to hop in, maybe take down some of the responsibilities down low. What's that like for you guys to be able to know that, hey, maybe if I'm not performing, somebody else can step up and, maybe kind of really move the ball around a lot more?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big help having a lot of more scoring balance this year, Ethan and Ben do a great job every night, but I mean, there's guys who take over some nights. Dang was picking up a big role in scoring. Michael has come off the bench and scored well, and Veas is going to get going here soon again. He's such a threat down low and he's going to get his confidence and get going. So it's just so nice. You kick it to Ethan, you're going to get an assist. So it's nice.
Yeah, Ethan had a couple baskets last Saturday. I was like, how did he even make that? That was wild.
Right. It's nice knowing you can throw it to those guys and they're going to make shots for Reese. So no, it's been good having a balanced scoring attack. And I think we're going to have to find more ways to score throughout the GLIAC with more scouting and whatnot, but we'll get it done.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy pretty much hit it on the nose, where we're very balanced offensively. And as a point guards, we know almost everybody's tendencies and where they like to get the ball. So I see Ethan on the wing wide open. Why not? Kick it to him. He's going to make it. I see Solo come to the rim, hit him to the rim. He's an excellent finisher. Dang, same thing. Michael, same thing. You know, we have a lot of people that can score, and just knowing what they like to do and put them in a position to score and be as successful as possible, that makes us look very good. But it's a testament to them and how good they are.
Absolutely. The best teammate, they can give you the best stats. And that's definitely what it comes down to. But taking a step back here, obviously you guys have had some crazy journeys as far as just getting here to Big Rapids and coming to Ferris. What was the recruitment process like, and talking to Coach Bronkema, and then just getting your way here to Big Rapids, signing, and now playing here for the Bulldogs?
Me and Coach Bronkema have known each other for a while. Ethan Erickson's athletic director played here. So I kind of like knew him a decent bit, and then we started talking after my sophomore season and got offered early and came on a visit. And I mean, I always liked it and always was like, if I'm going to play Division II basketball, it's going to be at Ferris, no doubt. So we've kind of had a good relationship, and I knew that this was the place I wanted to play at.
Very cool.
For me, it's kind of funny. You know, I spent 4 years in my previous school, Roberts Wesleyan, graduated there. Then I decided to enter the transfer portal. So, you know, I put my highlights on Twitter, you know, all the transfer portal, how that works. Then I get a text from Coach Brockman hitting me up, talking about the program and all. And I'm like, going into the portal, my goals are like, yeah, individual stats are cool. I don't care about that anymore. I want to go to a team where I can win and, of course, pursue my master's degree. And then I do some additional research on Ferris, and I learned that 2018 they win a national chip. I'm like, oh, snap, this is exactly what I'm looking for in the program. You know?
It's for real.
This team wins. Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I need. This is where I need to go. Like this is the place. So I did some additional research with that. You know, came my visit, met the team, hang out with the team, and play with them. Like, you know, it's funny because it felt so natural for the first time when I played with them. I'm like, I can see myself thriving here. I can see myself fitting in here. And so far, I feel like I made a new family here. So I'm just blessed to be here. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that's great. And especially with all the other guys, like I know, Jimmy, you were here last year and you had a lot of those older guys that eventually moved on, like DA and Walt and those guys, with the new really dynamic of this year. And we've seen a lot of those guys on the floor, but is there things that you guys would like, is there necessarily different characters that you see from some of the guys on the floor as opposed to off the floor?
Somewhat. I mean, Reese gets really animated on the court, but he's very like mellow and calm off the court. And there's a couple different scenarios like that. I mean, Michael is kind of just always calm and cool. So you kind of can tell on the court and off the court, he's the same. But there's a couple guys. Reese is kind of like that. Ben gets pretty fired up on the court and off the court. So there's a couple guys, but I can't think of many besides Reese.
Yeah, Reese he stopped fired up on the court. Every bucket, he's, let's go. And that gets me hype and everybody else hype. But I would say everybody else is pretty much, you know, what you see is what you get. They're pretty much, if they're mellow, they're pretty mellow in person. But it could be mellow on the court, like off the court, they're a little more silly and goofy and all that. But yeah, for the most part, what you see is what you get.
Right on.
What's Broncom like on the bus? Is he like kind of just...
What a question.
Yeah, I was getting like, that's what I just thought about. It's just like, is he kind of more like fired up and animated, or is he kind of just chill out and get ready?
He sits in the front and he's typically just watching film or stuff, not too much. He doesn't really talk to us much.
The only time he talks to us when he puts on a movie on the bus.
Yeah.
He had some bad choices.
Does he choose it every time, or is it more of a group selection?
I think like I'm just chilling in the back of the bus listening to Alicia Keys. Then like all of a sudden I just see like a movie. I'm like, oh, what's this? I watched like 10 minutes. Like, you know what? Let's turn the volume a little higher. I'll listen to music some more. Sometimes he has some good choices.
It's definitely a Coach Bronkman decision for what the movie is, but that's only on the long road trips.
I've heard he's very competitive, regardless if there's a basketball game going on. Is that true?
Yeah, we just went to one of the donors' house, and we have it's like ping pong, pool, all this stuff. And his team is normally in there, whether it's by cheating or because he's good at it.
He's writing paper brackets out. Oh, I'll be the number one
writing
seed.
in pencil so he can erase and all that stuff. Yeah, for sure. And especially with the second half of GLIAC play coming up, what's kind of going to be the goal for you guys on the personal level and with your game, as well as, you know, for the team and really just trying to develop?
Well, we always talk about the thing is, you know, win at home, split on the road. And unfortunately with the Lake State loss, we're going to have to pick it up. But I think we got to get a little streak here, you know, win a couple games in a row, get it going. And personally, I think for both of us, we kind of have done a good job of distributing, but we both probably need to score a little bit more for this team to be good. So just both of us being aggressive, scoring, getting to the free throw line. So that'll be a personal thing for me for sure.
Yeah, definitely being more aggressive and looking to score. The scout for us is we're pass first point guards and we know how to find people. So, we can kind of break that scout because we both have the ability to score. I've seen it in practice. Jimmy, he can get off when he wants, I can do the same. So I feel like we have to do that a little more. And, we got to kind of focus on these road games. You haven't been doing so well on the road. So we kind of got to pick that up. So, and like you said, at least split on the road and then rest of these home games, we just got to win them out.
Yeah, for sure. And as you just mentioned, you guys have been at home for quite some time now, especially over the break. And now you're going to get a little bit of a road trip up ahead. What are going to be some of those key components that you guys need to do in order to pick up those W's on the road and start climbing your way back up in the standings?
Just kind of stay focused from the jump. We got off to a decent start against Lake State, but that's just a huge thing for our team, because we like to wear teams down and get on those big runs with the last 10 minutes of the game. So it's just like if we can get a good start, kind of get a little lead, and then at the end of the game, kind of like Lewis, where it was back and forth all game, and then we blew them away at the end. So if we can kind of build a lead from the start and then go from there, that'll kind of be a big help for these road games as well.
Yeah, it also helps if you bring a lot of energy on the road. As we're going to be in the opposing stand, so a lot of boos and dislikes of us. So for our bench, we have to be consistently, hype, energized for everybody there, and just understand that we're going into battle and on the opposing field. So we got to come hard. We got to, all of that.
Yeah, especially for you guys. What's the biggest difference too with, school starting up today? It's the first week back for a second semester. Had break last week, and especially over the holidays. What's kind of the biggest difference for you? Obviously with the season starting in the first half of the first semester, it's, you kind of have a little bit of familiarities with it, but what's kind of the biggest difference for you guys going from break and now just getting ready for classes and getting ready for that type of stuff?
It's probably better to be back. So you have like a real schedule, like today, like we got up, lifted, ate breakfast, and now we're doing this and then have class. We're on break. It's kind of like, all right, well, I don't really have anything till 1. So what am I going to do today? Yeah. So it's kind of nice to get back in that schedule and make sure everyone's, eating, lifting, doing all this stuff. So it's probably good that we're back. It kind of makes you more focused, and like your weeks will go by a little faster, it'll feel like game days tomorrow. So it'll be good to be back on schedule for sure.
Yeah, being on that schedule, it definitely helps. Kind of gives your life some order. Like I said, last semester is my first one, so I kind of getting used to the area. I know what to do. I'm kind of getting the routine of things, and it's just like I'm a lot more comfortable. I know what to do. I kind of learned from mistakes I made in the first semester, and I'm ready to grow upon that. Just keep bettering myself.
For sure. We appreciate you guys coming on. One more question we like to ask every athlete on the show: what's been your favorite thing about being here at Ferris State and being a Bulldog?
Definitely, the community of athletes. It's like we're so excited to go to the football games. We're so excited to go to the soccer games. Like everybody kind of comes out and supports each other, which is really cool because it's not like that at every school. So it's been nice, having Amari, having all these guys on the basketball team, but then knowing a lot of guys on football and whatnot. So that's been a good mix of people.
Yeah, Jimmy hit it on the nose. I just want to say, especially, I'm thankful for my team. We're so cool. We're so close to each other. Like I said earlier, I feel like I got a second family here, and I'm grateful to have that. And like, we're all coming back next year. It's only gonna get better and stronger. So I just can't wait,
That's cool.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully good luck with this semester and good luck with the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Big thanks to the boys for stopping by the show. I really enjoyed that, Joe. Just seeing their personalities on and off the floor. That's really kind of why we wanted to start these player staff interviews, is we always know what they do on the floor. We know the numbers, we know the stats, but the people behind what you see on the floor, they're also super cool, and they really need to be enlightened as well.
Yeah, it's nice too, especially being in a setting like this. They can be more relaxed, more comfortable, and their true selves kind of show out rather than, the formulated answers for, those post-game interviews and stuff like that. But before we get into the rest of the show, we have a huge announcement for you guys. Not going to get too deep into it. We just want to let you guys know what's going on behind the mics at the MVSP. Brandon, what's going on?
It is a lot of potential changes coming, and don't worry, still me and Joe behind the mics. Always will for as long as we can. But there are some great things coming up here with the new year, including a couple of potential partnerships on the way. We've already got the huge partnership here to get in this studio, which is so grateful with artificial intelligence, Ferris State's ISIS
What's cooking
program.
up in the lab, Brandon?
Yeah, so we have that already. And now we have potential partnership coming with a radio station. I'm going to leave it at that. Not telling you who it is, not telling you where it's coming from. But there is a potential that this show might be aired on the airwaves
No
We'll leave it at that.
No way.
Yes, Joe. It is.
Dude.
We're so excited, but we can't tell you all the details
That's
yet.
just
'Cause
how
we
it
don't
is,
know
man.
them, but just to let you know that is in the works and
It's
the ball is
happening.
rolling there. So
It's happening.
going to be really cool. We'll get you the formal announcements
Absolutely.
as well, Joe.
What's up?
Your boy really helped us out here with
up?
figuring out we might be getting a camera in the studio.
What?
Yes,
You can see
sir.
our lovely faces talk about sports.
Yes, it's going to be great. Live stream potentially on the way.
That's huge for the program.
We're still working out some things, obviously, with the studio setup that we have. We're still trying to cross
But that
some
is in
I's,
the
dot some
works.
T's, but it is on the way potentially next week. So next episode, potentially, and especially next week's episodes, might be a little different. Don't panic. We're making the changes so that we can extremely extend our
It's
outreach.
for you guys.
It is for
the
you guys.
listeners,
And
and
we-
now the viewers.
Yes, we truly appreciate y'all and what you've done to the show. It's been remarkable this last year, and the fact we get to keep
Gotta
building
pad
it.
that resume.
Could you imagine, Joe, if we did this back in 2021?
Back when we
Where
were
would be right
freshman
now?
boys, little freshman
Oh
babies.
my gracious!
Who'd
It
have
was
thought?
too big. That's probably why.
That's why.
you know?
We were just deer in the headlights, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff's cooking up in the lab here at the MVSP. We're very excited to bring it to you guys. So stay tuned. It's going to be soon, and it's going to come fast, and we cannot wait to bring it to you guys. We're going to hop into the Ferris State Sports Report. Going to start off with basketball. Men's and women's was in action over break, and especially last week. We'll start with men's, Brandon. They were on the floor against Grace Christian on Wednesday, and then Saturday against Lake Superior State. Talked a little bit about it in the interview. Men's fell on the Saturday game to Lake State, but they had a big win over Grace Christian. A lot of positives from last week, Brandon. Let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, starting with the Saturday game, I'm sure a lot of people are saying, "How did we lose this game?"
Refs is how we lost that game.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of the calls that were questionable, but the biggest thing was really down the stretch, the Lakers really shot the basketball well when it mattered most. And that was the huge portion of that game that should be highlighted, especially for them. Because, I mean, overall, we shot better than them, 52 to 38% field goal wise, 31 to 29 from three, which 31 is actually a pretty low number for considerably us being the number one 3-point shooting team in the nation. But I think overall, when especially you could tell that, you know, Ethan Erickson was getting double teamed and they were making sure he wasn't going to shoot the rock, which he also still netted 2 threes in that game. So that still shows you how good he's been. He finished with 22 points off the bench to lead us in scoring, followed by Ben and Solomon with 19 and 17. But I think the biggest thing really when you watch this game was Xander Corland, who actually, as mentioned, went to Glen Lake that Jimmy mentioned. I'm pretty sure I actually played against Xander back in the day at a North Summer tournament. Yeah.
That's
I remember,
cool.
I think we played Glen Lake in one of our games, and I'm pretty sure we lost that game, but that's beyond the point. But him and Caden Eberling, especially down in the post, they were hitting some really clutch shots. So they really took over down the stretch. But I think that was just kind of, they really hit the shots down the stretch. We didn't get as many clean looks as we probably wanted to. And that just kind of really told the tale of the game. Cause I mean, really, it was back and forth the entire night. And realistically, it was just going to come down to what team was going to be hot at the end of the game. And unfortunately, it was Lake State this time.
Yeah, that's the tough part about it. Ethan Erickson, though, has been popping off these past couple of weeks. He is leading in almost every single major three-pointer category in Division II. He has made the most three-pointers per game. Total 3 points made. He's leading 3-point percentage. I believe he took over, which is big time. I know he was behind one guy mainly because it was just like the guy had barely enough to count for the percentage.
Yeah.
But Ethan right now is 58 for 103 field goals.
Which is a 56%
Pretty much.
mark.
56.31.
Yikes.
That's just wild.
Yikes.
It's to be able to have that, especially coming off the bench, is huge. And I know Ben Davidson is on the list too. I think he's near like the 80 mark or something. He's tied with a lot of people. So it kind
Yeah,
of just
I
goes
think
down.
he's around somewhere hovering around like 48, 49% last I checked, which is very impressive.
I forget what it was, page 3 of the thing. When I looked at it at the game. But these were two very good games, especially with the Lake State game. I was kind of looking to see a little bit more of scoring all throughout. I think Veas, when it wasn't down low, he kind of struggled a little bit. I know he missed a 3, which usually when he hits a 3 near the end of the game, that's what really lights up the crowd and gets everybody hyped and going. And that's kind of the turning point. He did miss 1, which was unfortunate, but when you look at it, we're 2-3 in the GLIAC right now, 11-5 overall. So we are one of the better teams in our region right now. It's just the GLIAC is so spread out and so talented on the men's side through basically from 1 to 8, I think it is. It's really tough to really get those sweeps like they were talking about in the interview. But I think especially with this last homestand coming up against, was it Parkside and Northwest?
Yep.
Purdue Northwest. That's going to be a tough game. And then going on the road is going to be a good test too.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things too, and Joe kind of alluded to it when he's talking about the officiating, like losing Reese and Veas was absolutely devastating down the stretch.
We had 4 or 5 guys in foul trouble. 3 of them fouled out. Lake State, they had maybe 1 guy in foul trouble. With four fouls. It was like their number 5 or number 4 or something like that.
David Wren, I know, had 4, and then Tyson Amundsen finished with 4. They were the 2 that were in foul trouble. Andy Sohm, I believe, had 3. Yeah. But yeah, in your comparison to your point, Veas fouled out with 5. Jimmy had 5. Reese had 5. And then there was one more that I know had 4. Ethan had 4 by the end of the game because he was also one that had to foul when later in the game we needed the free throw exchange.
And I think Michael had 3.
Michael had 2. Solomon had 3.
Solomon had 3.
Yes.
But there was a lot of times where we would drive and get hacked, or it would be, a very hard screen or something like that. Number 4 from Lake State was kind of giving a little hip jab when he was setting the screen. I will say that. So
yeah, not as bad as the officiating from the Seattle and Los Angeles game. We'll get into
that. Yeah. I just want to say this. How do the Lions... That was the most Lions game, Detroit Lions game I've ever seen. The Lions didn't even play in that game. If you really think about it. Yeah. We'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into that later with the NFL and professional portion of the show. But 48 combined fouls in this game. That's hard to play by. And I mean, both teams really hit the free throws.
Have breath to blow into the whistle.
Blow in the whistle, yeah. The comparison, 15 of 20 for us from the line, 75% very solid. Lake State hit a lot of their free throws, 29 of 36 from the line. To shoot 80%. So that was also big for them down the stretch. But no, you're right. I mean, especially I know we asked Jimmy that question later on in the interview of like him having to change his role in that game, especially and how that adjusted because he was having to play the big man. Really, in that lineup when they had Ben, they had Solo, and then Veas and Reese fouled out. So now you're sitting there with you have Amari then, and you have Ethan in there, but you don't have any size. It's really Michael, and then really it's Jimmy because we're still missing Dolapo and as well Nathan Clatterbaugh. So now you have to be in the situation where Jimmy was having to guard. He was going to have to guard Caden Aberling at points. At portions of the game, and even Kingsley Perkins, those 2 big men, where now you have a whole player kind of not necessarily out of position, because I thought Jimmy did a great job in this situation. He obviously picked up his 5th foul, which sucked. But I mean, in that scenario of the game, just things did not really go our way. And I mean, like say, you got to give them credit. They showed up with their fan base and they hit some big shots to get them to the win. But they really did a great job on Wednesday, really establishing the tone. That was a much more Bulldog-esque type of game. And I mean, really, when you just look at it, there's really just only one number that sticks out to you, and that's just number 21 can shoot the lights out, and he's a certified sniper.
Guys, wild. What is it? 7 for 9?
7 of 9 in that game.
7 of 9 for 3, and 5 of those came in the first half, and he came off the bench. He had 21 points in the first half.
Yeah.
That's just insane. He was definitely guarded pretty heavily after that. So you only saw, I think it was 2 3-pointers, but he still went 2 for 2 in the second half. But the good thing about that, though, is that when teams are really going to be heavy on Ethan Erickson, that leaves Ben Davidson to be open. Ben, I will say this, has been lights out with his little kind of jab, step, spin move, fade away at
the mid-range. Yeah.
The mid-range, he's been lights out. And the good thing, too, Solomon's driving has gotten exponentially better. And he's been able to just really get really shifty and crafty when it comes to going down to the net. So I think it's when you look at Ethan Erickson's effect on the game so far in these past couple of weeks, it's only going to get better. And then when he's getting shut down or when he's getting face guarded or double teamed or something like that, you're going to get a situation where Ben might pop off. Michael could even pop off. We've seen him go crazy from 3-point range, and that can really open up stuff for Veas down low, as well as Jimmy to move around the ball, Amari to move around the ball. You know, it's good cooking here for what I can see so far. So
yeah, and I think really when it comes down to it, being able to rebound the ball is very crucial as well. We only had 29 boards in that Lake Superior State game. And I believe over the last couple losses that we've had, some of our lower rebounding totals. So that really can be a factor.
I think Lake State had like 24, 23 offensive rebounds or something like that.
It was that high?
It was pretty high, if I remember correctly.
I don't know. Is that...
Sorry, they had 25 defensive, sorry. Like so they had 12 offensive, which is still pretty high.
No, that's a lot higher than 2, which is what we had. But I mean, when you look at the Grace Christian game, I mean, really, when it comes down to it, the defensive presence was definitely there. I believe we had 15 steals in that game as opposed to just 3 in the game against Lake Superior State. So that was just kind of a little bit of a different avenue as far as defensively being able to get out and transition, I think was crucial. But I mean, really, it's a clean slate now from here on out when you got some to go. You got Purdue Northwest coming to town, a team that we can definitely beat. Parkside's going to be a team that we can definitely put up a really good game against and could be a huge game for us standings wise. And I think that'll be a really fun game as well. So make sure you guys check it out on Thursday at 7:30. Will be the opening tip-off for the men's game as well as the women's game, which we'll get to their results here in just a minute as well. On Saturday, Parkside men's game at home at 3 o'clock, January 14th. You can find out tickets and more at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. Moving on over now into the women's slate here, Joe. I mean, the team right now had a little bit of hiccups and bumps over the break, but last week, and especially on Saturday, got the job done and looked much better overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially against the Lake Superior State game, we had a huge second half that really propelled that. I think both teams were under 40 points, like total collectively. And after the first half, it was like, I think it was 28-30 or something like that. Or I might be wrong. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know it was pretty low. But we had a pretty big second quarter that really propelled us to a good standing in the second half. We played really solidly from three. We were hitting a lot from beyond the arc. But the one thing that's a reoccurring factor is that when we go down low, it seems that we just can't seem to finish, which is a tough part. And we get fouls every once in a while. But the big thing is going to be knocking down the mid-ranges when we decide to pull up, and as well as really being a force down low, because when we miss the layups, we don't always get the rebound off of it, and that's going to be the toughest part about it. And that's what I mean why we lost to Lewis. They rebounded us there. We missed a lot of key layups kind of on fast breaks and stuff like that. But if we can clean that up, it's going to be pretty easy, especially coming into Purdue Northwest and Wisconsin Parkside at the end of this week. Yeah,
those are two definitely beatable teams, and the shooting hasn't been great as of late. I mean, you can definitely see statistically, I mean, we shot 27% against Indianapolis on the day before the new year, which was, with the fact that we were in that game, was incredible and a big testament to how that team fought throughout the entirety of the game, because not many teams only lose by 3 points when you shoot 27% from the floor. That's not from three, that's from the floor. And as well, I mean, you saw the shooting become a much better. We got a lot more ball movement, a lot of great open looks as far as driving the basketball, kicking it out for some open shots. So that was really crucial. Keeping the fouls and turnovers down was definitely better. There's been some games where we got a little bit too sloppy, especially into early part of last year as far as the calendar year from the start of the season, not necessarily saying from the previous 21-22 season. But I think when you look at how this team overall scored the basketball, I think on Saturday, and I think really when you mentioned it, Joe, like just having that ability of being able to be efficient inside and out is really what's making this team great. And it's really a testament to how well they've been playing down low, especially the fact that, I mean, losing Maya Hiram for the season, that was a really big loss for this team. But Mago Nabagwa, Ariel Jenkins had some really nice minutes as well. They're really being able to get themselves in position while they're not maybe necessarily scoring at the high margin like Chloe is, averaging like 18 points a game. Like just being able to beat teams on the boards and as well as be a physical presence. Like Amako had, I want to say 3 blocks in that game, if I remember correctly. Yeah, she had
which one, the state game or
in the Lake State game? Yeah, she had 3 blocks in that game, and they were all in crucial driving situations where she stayed straight up, made the play, and their team went down. And I believe on 2 of them, they scored in transition. I mean, that's crucial when it comes down to it, being able to get in transition. And that's when these teams are really playing at their best. But I mean, really, Chloe had a really good game, obviously 18 points and 11 rebounds for a double-double for her, 15 points for Mallory McCartney. She started to shoot the ball back at the rate we've seen from the last couple of years, which is great to see. Kenzie Bowers had a 12 as well, as 11 for Mia Riley off the bench. She's starting to become a marksman that a lot of teams are going to have to be looking at on scouting reports as far as how well she's been shooting the basketball. Elle Irwin added 7 rebounds and 9 assists. That definitely needs worth mentioning on the stat sheet. She played a phenomenal game as well. But I think overall, I mean, you saw a little bit of the hiccups there in that Lewis game. As you mentioned, Joe, I think really when it comes down to it, we knew that we were probably the better team and we were more talented when in straight comparison. But there was just a lot of mistakes that we made. But really, they cleaned it up. and they made the perfect transition going from an early week game to a weekend game. You fixed what you needed to. You kept the turnovers down. You shot the ball better. You moved the ball better. And that's how you see these results, and you start getting these definite wins coming off of those building losses throughout the rest of the season.
Especially being able to come off a loss and get a win in a conference game at home against a team that has been able to play upset for a lot of these different teams throughout the GLIAC. But that was the big thing, being able to come off 2 losses, a close one against Indianapolis and OT, and then Lewis, one that, you didn't really play too well. In Lake State, everybody was kind of firing all cylinders. Can have some spots where we can clean it up a little bit, but especially with how we played, you really can't hang your head about it, and you can really hold it up high. Purdue Northwest coming to town is going to be kind of a test, I think, especially with just how much we can develop. We're going to be back to Thursday games, which is good. Just being later on in the day. The Wednesday game kind of threw us off a little bit, but I'm really excited to see what we can do for the second half of the GLIAC.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly fun. Joe, you want to head to the GLIAC scoreboard? Let's hear what's going around the
men's. I got to look up the schedule real quick. I'm being a bad Jamie right now.
Okay, we need to.
There's just a long there's a long list. Like they don't have like the week. Okay, little thing. GLIAC website. They need to have like week by week click thing you're gonna have, and then it goes to it. I have to scroll down the equivalent of like 20 miles with my fingers to be able to get to this one. All right, 1
miles.
second.
That was my long run last week.
All right, Saturday. We'll go rapid fire Thursday and Saturday. Northern Michigan 64, Wayne State 62, and OT thriller. Michigan Tech fell to Saginaw Valley on Thursday 69-58. Davenport couldn't get it done against Purdue Northwest. Applied will win 82-75.
Wow.
This is the men's side, I believe.
Yes.
And then Grand Valley fell to Parkside 81-72. The Rangers are really making some noise in the GLIAC and nearing the top. They're right behind Northern Michigan with that.
Until Saturday, though.
Saturday. Northern Michigan won 71-68 against Saginaw Valley. Wayne State beat the Huskies 72-65 in OT at Wayne State, so big home win for them. Grand Valley State took down Purdue Northwest 74-62. Finally win for the Lakers. Good for them. Davenport versus Parkside. The Panthers would win that one 72-58. Not the best performance from the Rangers there. And then Lake State would beat us 78-72.
There you go. And there's the GLIAC scoreboard. We'll be sure to get those to you more as the seasons go.
Do we want to do the women's one too?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I was just filming
once again,
while you got
to scroll all the way down.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of
There's going to be a great live show of just me scrolling.
Yeah, you know the song, I would walk 500
miles. All right,
and I would scroll 500
We're here. Holy crap, a lot of OTs.
Oh.
Okay. Rocking it out. Northern Michigan 56, Wayne State 52, final OT. Grand Valley State 83, Parkside 73. The number 1 team is still rolling. That was an OT thriller, though. Close looks for them. Michigan Tech 69-53 over Saginaw Valley. 76-68 win for Purdue Northwest over Davenport. Moving to Saturday. Michigan Tech 86, Wayne State 71. Big upset for the Huskies at Wayne State. Good for them. Northern Michigan took on Saginaw Valley on Saturday. 56-52 win for the Wildcats. Grand Valley once again keeping the train rolling 62-54 over the Pride of Purdue Northwest. Parkside won 80-66, and then we got it done against Lake Superior State 81-57.
Yeah. Also found out this weekend, Grand Valley's no more undefeated.
Really?
You want to know who beat them?
Who?
The Lewis Flyers.
Really?
Dead serious.
Wild.
The Lewis Flyers.
Crazy.
Upset here. I'll give a slow clap
Good
to them for how well they've played the last week, because they beat Grand Valley and they beat us. I believe both of them on the road. That's tough.
Google Division II women's basketball standings.
And I would search 500
What is
more.
Oh wait, never mind. That's not.
Well,
I don't like how they do the regionals as well. This is annoying. I just want
you want the top 25.
I just want the top 25.
That's all I want to do. You have to go specifically to the direct link, but
I hate this website.
Yeah,
this website is terrible.
It's not the greatest website, but
website is buns.
But yeah, I think I just saw it there. Overall, in the Midwest, as of now, women's basketball, Grand Valley
we're 6th.
Is tied for 2nd, and we are 6th.
Ashland is 16-0. Ashland is 6th.
Yeah,
in the country.
Yes.
That's wild.
Well, no, they had 6
votes. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I thought that was.
Each team has, you get 6 votes amongst the board to get who that rankings are, and they got all 6, but no, Ashland is very, very good. We almost beat them last year in the postseason, if you remember correctly.
I do remember that.
Northern also sitting there, just sneaking in there at 10. Michigan Tech, 4, a team that we're going to have to play here coming up soon. That's going to be interesting. So, yeah, there you go. There's the ranking and updates. We'll make sure to get those more as the show goes on, and we can give you an update on how these teams are moving up and down. But anyway, time for Van Andel. Joe made his professional broadcasting debut, and boy, I'll tell you
what,
Joe.
high school, but
professional, yeah. But I mean, I listened to it. I thought we definitely need the staple of huge for the program segment every single hockey game the rest of the season. No doubt.
I'm aware of my effect on people. I got our coach Mark Kaufman never heard the phrase "cool beans" before, and now he just uses it all the time everywhere. Because I said it. So fun fact or fun little anecdote: there was Harrison sent out an email with like every single like high up person like in athletics, and then Kaufman responded "cool beans," making fun of me.
That's great.
Hey, cool beans, whatever.
If you hear cool beans around campus, it's because of that, man.
It is because of me, but yeah, it was a great Great Lakes Invitational. We went 1-1, could not get it done in the championship, but it was still a good game. I feel like we played really solid in the first period against Western, played really solid all throughout against Michigan State. So we played spoiler to Michigan State twice this year? Michigan State once, but we've played spoiler to number 11 teams.
Yes, that's
twice, because Michigan Tech was ranked number 11 when we beat them at first, and we've been playing pretty solid. So I'm very excited to see what this second half of the season looks like. I know on Instagram, Ferris State Hockey posted this could be like the most pivotal exchange. I can't figure out the words. Most pivotal change of season for the program since 2016.
Yeah.
When we went to the CCHA semifinals, I think
something like that. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I definitely agree.
The way that we start against Lake State, who is the worst in the CCHA and arguably one of the worst teams in the whole nation, if we can sweep them here, we will go up in the CCHA standings to nearly the top, if I'm not mistaken.
And then we're back home.
Because we were at 20, Bemidji's at 25. If we get the 3 point or the 6 points throughout the weekend, that'll be huge because we'll be at 26. Bemidji State, let's see who they're playing. They're playing, I believe, once again.
It's not Bowling Green, is it?
Ferris State Wi-Fi is terrible. They're playing Bowling Green.
Oh, yeah.
So very, very possible upset for the Falcons coming because, it is for Bowling Green. So Bowling Green's kind of out of reach for us right now with 29. So if they get up, really doesn't matter. We just need Bemidji State to fall so that way we can lock a spot for home ice in the CCHA playoffs.
Yeah.
A lot of games left, but it'll be nice to be able to break that plateau right now.
Yeah, and especially getting on the road and beating Lake State to come back home for the two biggest tests of the season, arguably coming up against Tech and Minnesota State. That will be absolutely crucial because then we got some tough games down the stretch. We'll be playing a Beaver team that's going to be hungry after we beat them on the road. And then always Bowling Green. Herd is an always hard place to play for us, especially historically when you look back at it. We've played some games that we haven't played our best there, so that'll be huge to get that momentum rolling there. And then we got to go back up to Marquette later this season before finishing out at home against Lake State. So this is going to be an important slate, and it starts right now. The boys are ready, and I think Michigan State, we put the tempo on in a hurry in that first period, and that's what really controlled the rest of the game. Western was impossible to stop by anybody, and that was just the whole way they played that weekend. So that game. You look at the score; it was 8-2. Realistically, it probably wouldn't have been 8-2 against a team that wasn't as hot as Western Michigan was, just for how they were scorching, especially from that first game. They put 16 in the net over that weekend in the two games.
Yeah, in two games, they
absurd. You don't see that very often
in both games, which was wild. And Ryan Pullen went 2 for 2. With a hat trick in both games.
Yeah, Max Sasson played really well.
Max Sasson, McAllister played really well. Their first line is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
They are the three, I think it's the 3 top scorers in all of NCAA are on Western.
Yeah.
And that's their first line.
Right.
Which is
studs.
Ballistic of how well they can really just light it up. And the thing too was we were playing really solid that game. It's just that second or the end of the first period when they scored, it was 2 in 4 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
That was terrible. And then they went into the second period and scored 3 in a very short amount of time. So Western Michigan is going to make some noise in the NCHC, I feel like, in this next part of the season. But the best thing for Ferris State right now is that everybody has played 2 more games than us in the whole conference right now. We are we have 2 less games. So
2 freebies to sneak back up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be huge for a lot of these teams that are above us when they have buys coming up. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm very excited, especially now that I'll be permanent rinkside intermission host reporter type deal.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm not taking Ryan Pilon's spot, but
It'll be like a mix of probably
It'll be like a
between
mix.
the two. Yeah, something like that.
I'll read you the text that here.
Deets haven't been put out just
Yeah,
yet, but
I
you
can
guys will
read
probably
the-
have to. You guys will have to tune into the broadcast, so then
You
can
will
find
have
out.
to. You'll hear my beautiful voice even more.
Yeah, let me tell you guys, it was absolutely entertaining sitting on my couch at home, being able to listen to that whole
Intermission
game.
host is what it is.
There you go. You're
Yeah,
the
you know how
intermission
to-
host.
Got
All
to wear a
right.
suit, tie, get a headset.
Woo, fancy.
Yep.
I hope I can throw it down to you once if in the color
We'll
spot.
see.
That would be absolutely
Going
like
down a huge for the program,
peak
throwing out the alley up there.
happiness.
Yeah, that'll be pretty fun. I'm very
Absolute
excited to
peak
see what that
happiness.
goes on for this next part of the season.
For sure. But yeah, really kind of final thoughts there on the GLI altogether. I mean, it just comes to, I don't know why. I found the stat, but it's sticking to us. We win more games when we take less shots. I don't know why it keeps sticking, but it is. I think it's almost just because like teams are finding ways to maybe counter us a little bit more. And I think that can kind of be said with how the game flow kind of goes throughout the entirety of that duration of the game. But I think when you look at how we play, there's times where you can kind of tell we're rushing it a little bit too much, but it's definitely been better to see because kind of last year it seemed like we weren't getting a lot of looks at all. And especially earlier this season when we were spending a lot of time in our own end of the
I have
ice.
a feeling our goal scoring like percentage compared to shots had to have been way up there.
Yeah, exactly.
We were only averaging like what, 15 shots a game? Or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, with the quality looks that we've had, I mean, over the last,
It's definitely been quality over quantity this year still.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, I think the last like 4 out of 5 games prior to Western Michigan, we'd at least scored 4 goals in all 4 out of the 5 games. I mean, that's just showing you how well the offense has been playing. And I mean, you really looked at how that Michigan State game went. We were finding looks all over. Like we were finding a lot of good looks, and there was a couple that we just missed, and that we could have even netted 6 goals potentially in that game. But I mean, some big goals: Connor McGrath, Mitch Dielstra, Tyler Schleppe, as well as Jason Bradshaw.
Dielstra made
finding the
tournament
net.
team, which is cool.
Yeah, Mitch Dielstra has been absolutely phenomenal. It's glad to see him really kind of just turning it up, full steam ahead for him as for how well he's played this year. But I mean, yeah, you look at how Gies has played as well. He's been playing very well. So I'd be interested to see if they change up the rotation goaltending because Logan hasn't been great, not as necessarily as good as he was at the start of the season.
It's just a slump, I feel.
Yeah,
like.
it's
'Cause
really,
last
that's
year
all
he
it
was-
is.
Last year he was lights out, and I think it was, I forget what start it was, but there was one where he had like 3 goals in like, I think it was like 10 minutes or something like that. It was kind of a train wreck. And I think that was kind of the one thing that kind of toppled into it because he's a good goaltender. He is one of the best goaltenders we've ever seen come through Ferris State. It's just you have Noah now who's playing lights out. He has the best save percentage in all of D1. I'm pretty sure from what Harrison was telling me.
Yeah.
So you have a great 1-2 punch when it comes to goaltending, but it's just one's hitting a slump right now. And that's the tough part about Saturday. So we might see Noah in goal for the foreseeable future, or we might see Noah or Logan come in the second day against Lake Superior State. So we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see. But next games at Lake State, the next home games will be 2 weeks from now, where we take on the was it Michigan Tech or Minnesota State?
We
first?
take on Michigan Tech first, and then we take on Minnesota State.
Okay, so there you go. So those games and those tickets will be available soon. You can find all that information out, of course, on the website, FerrisStateBulldogs.com. We're going to take our last break. When we come back, we'll break down the NFL playoffs, Damar Hamlin situation, as well as how the Lions got screwed again. Don't go anywhere.
Hate to see it.
Are you a Ferris State student interested in getting into audio production, music, podcasting, or even DJing? Bulldog Radio could be the place for you with plenty of opportunities and hands-on experience within not only these realms, but the marketing and social media opportunities outside. Join us to have your voice heard. No other place than Bulldog Radio.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. Going to hop into some NFL action. A scary scene last week against the Bills and Bengals when Damar Hamlin went down. He went into cardiac arrest after a hit with T. Higgins. It was a crazy situation. It was a 1 in a billion chance, basically, Brian. I remember watching it live. It was pretty scary, especially seeing that they canceled the game. It was ambulance came on. You saw Damar getting resuscitated on the field with CPR. It was very scary. But Brandon, what were your thoughts on it?
It was a really breathtaking situation.
It was wild.
It really was hard for me to kind of watch that situation unfold, just for the man's safety, the man's life. And I think really when it comes down to it, now I mean that he's doing okay, and that shout out to all the response teams for what the work
put
they
that
did.
guy in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because that was absolutely phenomenal. I know as a professional or as a as not necessarily a professional rescuer and first aid, but as one that does it as far as a job on the side in the summer, that it is a tough situation to go into. And it really is when the situation arises, there's a fight, flight, or freeze response. And the fact that they came in and did the work that they did was absolutely phenomenal. But I think when it comes to how this whole weekend planned out, I mean, you knew for a fact the Bills were going to win that game. I mean, I really kind of feel bad for the Pats because there was no reason that they needed to play in a must-win playoff game after that whole situation unfolded the way it did. And that's just really a testament to all the prayers that were sent out to Damar, his family, to all the staffs, to all the players. I mean, definitely was felt over this last week.
It was very cool to see how the NFL just grouped together on that one.
Yeah, it really was. And I mean, I just can't really put into words like how great of a feeling that it is that man is okay and that he is doing well, that he is responsive, he's being able to communicate with his teammates, and that he's breathing air. That's really the what it comes down to, and it's more than football. And that just really touched me personally, because it was one of those situations where it kept me up for a couple hours. Like, man, like, it really, it's a cliche, but it's like, yeah, hold your loved ones a little extra, because this can happen. This happens. And I think
I was expecting to see like a notification from ESPN and say like you passed away in the middle of the night or something.
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, really, when you kind of put at it, it was a football player in a football game, but I mean, I think it just kind of shed to my eyes, especially the fact of this can happen at any time, anywhere, with anybody that you know or you love. And that it's just really any time that you could spend with them, like spend time with them. It could be the last time. You never know. I hate to say it in those kind of words, but I think that's really what spoke to me overall from that situation. And I know I'm definitely going to be a lot more intentional on the time I spend with people and things like that. But I mean, I'm just glad Damar's okay. The Bills really, I mean, that was special what we saw on Sunday from them being able to beat the Pats in the way they did.
Fun fact.
What's that?
The Bills chaplain is actually my mom's second cousin.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you look at that?
I think his name's like Len Vandenboss or Les Vandenboss, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
My grandma's maiden name was Vandenboss.
Wow.
Wild stuff.
That is wild stuff.
Small world,
Yeah. So prayers to Damar. Love you 3. And certainly cool to
wild.
be able to talk about that.
Did you see it? Because like it was a freak occurrence because his heart was like on the downbeat and T. Higgins' helmet hit him like in just the right spot.
Right.
Where it like stopped his heart, which is wild.
Yeah, create cardiac arrest.
It's like the smallest amount of like window. Like it's so minuscule, but that was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Crazy situation, very sad, but like the doctor, terrible line. A lot of people, he asked if the Bills won and he was like, you did win. You won the game of life. I was like, corny line.
Too corny
line. That doctor was like writing that up or something like that. He was like, man. That was not a spur of the moment thing. Let's be real here. He was not spur of the moment. He came up with that. He was writing that down in like his break or something like that. Or like when he went to the bathroom, he was like, yeah, this one's going to go hard. This one's going to go crazy on the internet.
More poetry Joe wants next time.
Or just saying like, no, he's like, no, they didn't win, but you're okay. You should see what's going on with the NFL right now. Cause like you're the talk, like instead of like that corny line. That's all I got to say. Very happy he's okay, but very corny line.
Yeah. Good to hear that you're okay.
Disney Channel like line.
Disney Channel type line. All right. We need to get on track here. Playoffs are now set after a weekend of play.
Sad.
A lot of interesting teams that now made it. We'll get to the pain here in a minute, but the playoffs
goes. All I know is pain.
This as is. The Eagles at the 1 seed in the NFC, followed by the 2-seeded Niners taking on the 7-seed Seahawks.
Should have been us.
Yep. Vikings taking on the Giants, the 3-6 matchup, and then the Buccaneers and the Cowboys in the 4-5 matchup. Over on the other side, it's the Chiefs that get the bye in the 1 seed, as well as the Bills in the 2 spot against the Dolphins. That should be a really fun game. Bengals and Ravens will have to play again, and the Chargers will be taking on the Jaguars on the other side in the AFC. But the biggest news that I know we want to talk about, everyone wants to hear us talk about. I know I've said some things, and I want to explain myself on what happened and transpired that caused the Lions not to be in contention for the playoffs. And I think it really just comes about that I don't usually get upset about officiating, but I won't lie to you. I was pretty infuriated after watching the end of that Seahawks game.
That was, for one, you missed so many calls. Diggs taunting on the sideline. You had hands to the face by DK Metcalf. You had the unsportsmanlike conduct that should have been called on DK Metcalf to Jalen Ramsey for pushing him and stuff like that. Because you can say, oh, that was a late hit or whatever, but Geno was still in, and Jalen Ramsey came up and hit him. So, like, you don't know what's going to happen there. That was the most Lions officiated call game, and the Lions were not even playing the game. I don't know how the Lions can get screwed over by the refs again and not even playing the game that really matters about that. Also, don't let Baker cook. He's not that guy. That was pretty terrible officiating from McVay, or coaching from McVay. I don't think he called timeouts in the right situation. I don't think he called the right play calls in the right situation. If Stafford was clear, because Stafford was cleared to play, I don't know if that was a McVay situation, if that was a Stafford situation. If it was Stafford's choice, I know he would have played. Seeing the complications that came for Detroit and how much he loves Detroit, he would have definitely played. But Baker is not the guy that can really win you games like that. One, I don't think I was as happy as I'll ever be when Seahawks doinked the field goal to send it to overtime. But I don't know how you can put Baker in and say, hey, launch it deep when Baker has a terrible deep ball. And then they get an interception. And then that should have been a call, excessive taunting, and should have been out.
Yeah, it was bad.
The thing about officiating, especially with college football and NFL football, that just grinds my gears about it, is it's so inconsistent, especially with like targeting calls, taunting calls, excessive celebration calls, and especially like roughing the passer calls and all that stuff. Also, roughing the kicker, running into the kicker. The guy was off balance and got pushed in to the kicker, and you get called, and then they go and score a touchdown or whatever it was, touchdown, field goal, I forget what it was. I don't know how you can call that and let that happen, as well as McVay saying, let's stop them and let's get only just over 2 minutes, or they went to the 2-minute warning, 2 minutes to go down to the field with a quarterback who can't do it, when you could have let them just scored with like 3 minutes left and had 3 timeouts and 3 minutes to go down the field. I don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah,
that was wild.
It was just a rough game to watch, and I was
sad.
I formally apologized to my family for some of the actions because I was very upset. Not throwing explicatives and breaking stuff, but just I was very angry about that, because I don't get upset that much about officiating, hardly ever. I try to keep my cool. Team's resiliency really shows up to me as priority 1A to get over those things to be a good team. But the situations that a lot of those happened in were the worst situations, especially the Jalen Ramsey situation. Yeah, probably should have been flagged? Yes, but at that same time, Smith was running down the sideline. He could have stayed in, and he stepped out right at the perfect moment. It was a smart play by Geno. But at the end, after that whole situation, that DK comes straight after him, puts hands in his face mask, headbutts him, and then gets off the field and starts cheering, and he's not flagged. It was really
right in front of the ref too.
It was pretty bothering to me, but I got over that one kind of quickly. But the intentional grounding call was a big one in that game, because that would have been another loss of down, and it would have been 10 more yards of field position, which changes your play calls. As much as people will probably argue that it doesn't, it does. When you're on the 50 with 50 seconds left instead of the 40, that changes it definitely drastically, because he was scrambling, but he wasn't really scrambling. He was still in the tackle box. He threw it before the line of scrimmage, and it was not near a receiver. Those are the 3 check boxes for intentional grounding, and they still didn't call it. That was what was infuriating. It wasn't because the players did it in that situation. It was because everything they did was the checklist for the foul, and it wasn't called. And that's what it doesn't make sense to me. It's not necessarily like I'm mad at the person for screwing up. That's like, it's inconsistency. Like, call the game the same way that it always has, because it was different at the beginning of the game. And then obviously that taunting call was definitely textbook right in front of the official, and they didn't call that either. But that's enough ranting for me about the officials. But I thought that was really poor, the way that game ended, because that was not the way that I would want. Like, the fact that now I have to think about that in how that adjusted that outcome of the game, and not how the Seahawks won that game because of potentially some of those things, and the Rams might have won that game because of those things, and then we end up beating the Packers at Lambeau, and that now they're not in the playoffs. You can't tell me that I shouldn't be irritated about that, because it definitely is, and it's just really bothersome to have it think like that. But how about them Lions, man?
What a year.
Beating the Packers in Lambeau. Mm-hmm. What a game.
I will say this. Now that Rams lost, we do have a top 10 pick for this year's draft. We
6,
are at
I believe.
6. That's big time. I think we're at 19 for our regular pick, if I'm not mistaken, if I looked at stuff right. I know somebody said 19. That could be wrong. That could be right. Mm-hmm. It's going to be around that area. I know that for sure. We might be a little
17,
bit lower. 7, yeah,
maybe something like there.
Give or take a few spots. It's going to be solid. I think we're going to do a really good job in the draft and figure out what we need to because we killed it in the draft last year.
Yes.
We picked up a lot of good guys. I think we're going to do the same thing. Going to be defense heavy, I feel like.
Should be.
But, man, those Lions just what a year. Starting off 1-6, then going 8-2 for the remainder of the season. Tough losses against, and the 2 losses that we had in the later one, not the greatest against the Panthers. I will say that. That was just a bad game. But against the Bills, against a team that should have rolled us at home, we played really solid against them. And I think, too, when you look at it, Aiden Hutchinson played incredibly well this year. Malcolm Rodriguez was an incredibly good pickup, very surprising. Anzalone was huge for the team. Jamal Williams was huge for the team. I think Chark has really developed into a guy who we can really hold on and have some value for. And now that Jameson Williams back, our receiving core is going to be that much better. So I'm just very excited for it, especially against Green Bay. Very happy that we won, seeing that we could knock them out of contention. I love seeing it, especially since the Packers and the playoffs, it's rigged for them to always make it because the NFL has a love relationship with Aaron Rodgers for some reason. But I just very much am very happy because Aaron Rodgers was trash talking the Lions all throughout the season. And then guess what? You go 0-2 through the whole thing and you can't get it done against the Honolulu Blue. And you're going to probably retire after it. So good riddance and let Jordan Love destroy the Packers organization.
He did say, I got to hold on to this one. Let the speculation
You're not
begin.
winning another Super Bowl, man. You're high on DMT and see the Hat Man every time you throw the ball.
Yeah, but that reference was when J-Mo asked Aaron Rodgers for his jersey for those who hadn't seen. And Aaron Rodgers said, I have to hold on to this one. So many people are saying that it's it, that it could be his career. Him and Randall Cobb going out together. Losing to the Lions, that would be kind of the icing on the cake for us.
Poetic.
But it would just be the way that defense played was phenomenal.
Lights out.
The offense got the job done when we needed it too. We ended up getting points in every quarter, and that's what won us this football game. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. When you look at how this team finished, phenomenal. I think when you look at the roster that this team can return, it could be one of the definite top 10 in the league. If you could even maybe argue top 5 for a lot of these teams that are losing players to free agency and the cap. But there is a lot to look forward to with this team. I think you got to try to bring everybody back offensively that you can. I think you still definitely bring DJ Chark back. He's going to be a big playmaker for us. Josh Reynolds, you can bring back on cheap in case you need, especially with injuries and that stuff happens. But I think it's J-Mo's turn next year. I think he's got to be the next in line guy to start. But I think with that, you load up defensively in the draft and in free agency. And I think
that is sent.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. I think Jared Goff's earned himself a job. I think for this next year and even 2 years after that, if we want to extend him.
It's nice because I don't think we really have to worry about getting a quarterback for 1 or 2 more years because we've seen Goff.
He's been playing well.
He's been playing really well. It's just going to depend on how he plays at the start of the year next year. Excuse me. And because fans are going to probably make a fit if it's not starting off like we did at the end of this season. Like if we play really bad, it's going to be same old Lions talk and then we're going to make another run. But I think if we just stay disciplined and do well, take what we need in the draft and do well in free agency, we have money. We have the ability to. We have a lot of guys who are good still on rookie contracts. We just need to be able to really, really hit it hard. Ben Johnson, I don't know if he's going to come back.
Please stay.
Hopefully he does.
Please.
Because if he does, then Lions could very well make the 2 or 3 seed, I feel like, in the playoffs next year, especially with what we have. But that all comes down to if a lot of pieces stay, if we draft right, if we trade right, if we buy right, then we're going to be able to play really well.
Keep Jamal.
I said this at the start of the year. I don't know if I said it on the show, but I definitely said it to a couple of my friends. I said, Lions are making the playoffs. We didn't, but we were very close. It's a lot better than last year in the past 2 years. And what Dan Campbell has been able to do with this organization in the 3 years that he's been here, I think it's very impressive.
They're back on track for sure, but keep Jamal. That man is a saint and needs to stay.
Use DeAndre Swift and trade him away, honestly, if need be.
Trade DeAndre Swift?
I was like, try to keep him, but if teams want him, DeAndre Swift, and they're going to give you a lot of money or good players or draft picks.
You're talking trade Swift or Jamal?
Swift.
Oh, okay. Now I'm tracking. Okay.
Yeah, no, not Jamal Williams. No shot. But if players want or if teams want DeAndre Swift, I wouldn't have no problem trading him.
Interesting. That's I haven't heard that take so far. So that's interesting. I think that could be something that they could listen to.
They were both very productive this year, but I would say if you want to have Jamal Williams just
be the bell cow
and take over, then I think you're fine.
Yeah, as long as you still.
I think you just got to worry about injury and stuff like that, but I think you can still do the same thing. But don't trade DeAndre Swift if it's a garbage offer. But if it's an offer you can't refuse, or if it's a really good one with a first round and a few second or third round draft picks or something like that, take them up.
Yeah, will be very interesting to see. A lot of offseason to come ahead, but we got to get through the playoffs first, especially.
So we got to do.
With this, who's the early Super Bowl pick here, Joe? It's tough.
I don't know. I'm
It's tough
going
in my
through it.
mind.
I'm trying to see like some early season upset. I could very see New York upsetting Minnesota in the first round. I feel like that could be possible. I don't think Dallas is going to beat the Bucks. Bucks are not going to make it past the second round. No shot. I'm more excited to see what the Chargers are able to do. So I think they could. I think they could play spoiler to KC if they can get out of the first round, and we'll see what goes on with that one. But for me, just the way that they've been playing with Jalen Hurts back and with that whole just city behind them in Philly sports, I think Philly could make it back to the Super Bowl.
Okay, there you go. I'm always looking at the Bills. I love that.
I think it's going to be Philly Bills.
Organization gets put together. I'm scared if they have to play the Bengals, not necessarily if they play the Chiefs, but if they play the Bengals, I'm a little more scared for Buffalo because Cincinnati's one of the most underrated teams in the NFL, honestly, for where they're seated at. But I mean, I would absolutely love to see a potential Brock Purdy Super Bowl game. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Mr. Irrelevant leads him to the chip.
Yeah. I mean, Buffalo, San Francisco seems like just an absolutely fantastic matchup. But
I think it's going to be Bills and Philadelphia.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
I mean,
where's the Super Bowl?
The way the Eagles have played, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. The Super Bowl this year, I believe, is being played. I believe it's being played in Arizona again at State Farm in Glendale. So it'll be hopefully not. I mean, you look at any of these teams, there's not necessarily like an immediate home field advantage. I mean, San Francisco's pretty close there, but it's not like Arizona's going to be playing in the Super Bowl in their home stadium, so that won't be necessarily like the same as Tampa Bay.
Is that they went away with like the contracts and stuff of like what stadiums like pay for the Super Bowl to be there or whatever it is, or like if it's like I don't know, do they just pay to have the Super Bowl there?
I'm sure it gets up for bid every couple years.
I wish that they would keep they would wait till whenever it is and like find a neutral site one, like a neutral site,
like right in the middle,
You know what it is? Because if it's like, let's say it's a Giants Buffalo one, right? If you had that at somewhere close to New York, like it would be crazy. But since it's in Arizona, then you can't really have that. Of course, that's like a hypothetical situation. Giants are not making not making the Super Bowl by any means.
What? Oh, I'm just kidding.
Sorry to burst anybody's bubble that think that's going to happen, but like it's just interesting because I've not really been a big proponent of like the neutral or like stadiums like bidding out for it and you having it at the certain spot or whatever, because you have some fans who won't be able to go, and if it was closer they would be able to, but you're paying that's probably a minimum $500, $1,000 for a ticket to the Super Bowl plus your travel to get there. Like, of course, if you're diehard, you'll go, but
yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying for sure.
You're not going to really find a lot of Bills fans if they make it. And
right. Like if
you will, but it's not going to be as much of a Bills Mafia presence as it would be.
Like if it's San Francisco against Jacksonville, try to get it in Dallas kind of a thing. I think I see what you're saying. So I mean, it'd be very interesting to see if they did it that way. I'm sure that there's just too much money to be passed up when it comes to these bids and stuff
NFL
like
is a business at the end of the day.
It's business at the end of the day. But there will be a Super Bowl champ. We'll be sure to cover that as we continue this show, as well as March Madness is starting to heat up. The MLB spring training is coming. NBA playoffs. Ooh, got a lot on deck here. But it's been a great show, Joe. We're back.
Really has.
Once again in 2023.
Yes, sir.
First show back. Great year ahead.
Yes, sir. Very excited. Second semester is upon us. Going to have a lot of sports go on with Ferris State as well as professional. Cannot wait to get it to you guys. Without further ado, take care, everybody.